welcome back everyone. It's a Friday morning, about 34 degrees outside, and it is awful. There's so many things I want to get done outside, but it just couldn't be worse. So it drives us back into the wood shop for the Setting Up a Homestead Shop series. I took a day off yesterday. I didn't do any videoing, but I got a lot accomplished, and I kind of want to share that with you today, starting with the bench. So we'll start from left to right. I'll show you what I did and built something special over here in the corner. It was really nice having yesterday to build a kind of a major project on the new bench, flush everything out, and it's just working out so well. So from left to right, so I kind of like to work that way. Maybe it's the way we're brought up reading, we read from left to right. So the first thing that I typically need to do if I'm doing woodworking or anything like that is going to be the layout. I mean the measuring and laying things out. So having those tools that I'm going to use to have here on the beginning side of the bench is very handy. I've got rulers and tapes and various lengths there. I've got my layout tools, and then I built this tape holder right here, which is also nice. So I'm going to grab these for my layout, but also if I need to come out and get a tape for other projects, I open the door, I can reach in, I can grab it really quickly, because this is something that we're going to be getting all the time. So to build the tape measure holder, I got a piece of just a 1 inch by 1/8 inch or so aluminum stock from Home Depot. 1 inch by 1/8, yeah, that's right. And it's 16 inches long. Over in the rope area, they had these little spacers that were used for rope splicing. Those little aluminum spacers work perfectly, and I just screwed them in there. And for a little panache, that's a word I don't think I've ever used on the channel. I put these little designs in there, kind of that old school little swirlies like they used to do on the aluminum dashes of the race cars. I'll show you how a quick way to do that my dad taught me. So to get your own panache, you're going to need a drill press. This is a little drill press. And some steel shavings, some metal shavings you get like when you drill something. Take your dowel and you just basically embed those into the bottom there. See where they're kind of all just embedded in there? We'll chuck up the dowel into our drill bit, or put our dowel into our chuck here. It's just wood, it doesn't have to be super tight. Just a finger tight would probably do it. Now, take whatever it is that you want to put your design on. And that's how you get that old school circular polish on aluminum. It's kind of a neat way to clean up, kind of some mundane old, just basic old aluminum stock. So I also made this pencil holder here out of just a piece of Doug fir bark with 1 1/4 inch hole in it. And this is something I didn't think that I can't believe how useful it was yesterday. As I was doing lots of layout and working and really trying to get production, I had sharpened up several pencils here. Whenever a pencil got dull, I had a fresh one and I grabbed it and I could just sharpen everything at once. So while we've got the drill press going, I'll show you how I made that real quick. To make the Doug fir pencil holder, I just cut a piece of branch wood. This is just a scrap off of the piece that I used. And I used a bit that's called a Forstner bit, I believe. I've never used a good one like this before. This is the first time. This is one that I bought at Home Depot for the next project I'm going to show you. But my dad had given me a set of smaller ones years ago that were the Chinese made. They weren't of good quality, and I used them, and I did not really have very good luck with them. But this one here was a whole different experience. It's made in Freud, F-R-E-U-D, made in Austria. So it's good. Don't go away, guys. I'm saving the best for last. So I want you to pay special note on how clean this hole is, the edges where the bit goes in. I know it's just a simple little thing, but it's really a nice little accent pencil holder that would look good on anyone's desk or workbench. And of course, I was just a sample here showing you how to do it. It might be better to have an inch and a half. It might be better size because it depends on how many pens and pencils you've got in there, but how many do you really need? So I think that the 1.25 inches is just about right. But look how clean those edges are right there. That's Austrian quality right there. So the astute observer will notice that I added the fifth, as I said, the fifth LED light over the workspace in front. So if I'm wearing a baseball hat, think about shadows when you're doing your lighting. Not enough. A lot of folks don't put enough thought into when you're placing your lighting, how important it is. I never really did until I started getting into video work and before that even photography, how important that is. And so I'm always thinking about light and considering it. So one thing to consider on your shop is do you wear a baseball hat? If so, you don't want to put the light directly over your head. Then you have a shadow under your eyes when you're doing small detail work that you bring up here to work with, that you want to see that shadow. So it's better to have it pushed out a little bit. So I pushed it out a little bit forward to get that light coming in at an angle. Just something to consider. Some of my very first memories as a little kid, as a young boy, was working in my grandfather's shop. Now my granddad, he didn't have any time for any nonsense. He didn't have any time for anything superfluous in his shop, anything that wasn't functional, didn't have a purpose. He was not a collector of tools. It had to be. It was important. He was not a rich man and money was tight. And if he bought something, it was because he needed it. And one of the things that he had in his shop, front and center, even on his workbench, was a small drill press. I still remember it today. He had I think of how big the scale is, everything today, and how I think we need, what luxury we have. How different it was from what he had and what he was able to make do with. But his workbench, I don't think it was maybe 6 feet wide, 6 or 7 feet wide, a little cabinet that he built with drawers underneath of it. There he stored a few things, had a metal top, sheet metal top on it, and he had two things on that workbench. He had on the left-hand corner, he had a 7-inch vise, a mechanic's vise, and on the right-hand side, he had a small drill press. It was a little red Craftsman. It was this one. You think this one's small? His was really small, but that was something that he deemed to be important, and that says a lot coming from a man of economy. So having a drill press, a small one like this, is what I would call an essential homestead shop or any shop necessity. If you were to ask me, hey, I'm setting up a shop, I want to know where to spend my money for my shop tools, meaning things that are not hand tools, I would tell you to start with 3. A drill press, and not in any particular order, it depends on you. A small drill press like this is just invaluable. I know there's the great big tower ones, but to be honest with you, I've never had need of anything bigger than this, and I've done lots of fabrication and lots of different things. I don't know that I would ever need one of those tall ones. Not that I wouldn't like to have one, but a small tabletop one has been sufficient for me. If I need to drill a bigger hole or something that takes more power, I'm going to use a cutting torch or plasma torch. That's just the way I've been working. Maybe I'm missing out. I haven't had a need for it. Number 2 of the 3 would be a table saw. Don't need a gigantic one. A small table saw, that's a perfect item that you could get at a garage sale. And number 3 would be a miter saw, a chop saw, something that you could cut at least a 2x6. I wouldn't get anything smaller than something with a 10-inch blade. I think, and in my experience, the best place for a drill press like this would be mounted on the bench itself, but to one extreme angle, and not in the middle of your bench. You want to, whenever I've mounted anything in the middle of a workbench like this, I've always regretted it. It never has worked for me because I want a nice clean sweep. I want a long workbench. If I'm working on a long piece of something, I can sit it down here. So having the vise on one extreme is great, and the drill press on the other, I think, is just the perfect combination. So I've saved the best for last. So I have thought long and hard about everything that's been going into the shop, the layout. And I guess my overriding philosophy is that I'm completely finished with half measures. And what I'm saying is a perfect example. This very wall right here, in the 5 years that I've been here, I built 2 makeshift benches, and both of them were unsatisfactory, and they're gone now. And I remember years ago, someone put in the comments, I'm going to paraphrase here, but it's funny how we don't have the time to do something right, but we have the time to do it twice. And I really have thought a lot about that when putting this together. And so everything that I'm doing and everything that I'm sharing with you in here, from the workbench to yesterday's project, is I'm doing this for the last time, Lord willing. Meaning that I'm going to do it right, even if it takes me an entire day, so that I can enjoy it. I can respect my tools. I can have everything in one place. I can get some sort of order in my life. I think about the hours and hours of frustration and aggravation that I dealt with in the old shop, just dealing with my clamps. They're laying on the floor, they're leaned up against the wall, they're falling, and they're under a bunch of trash, and the aggravation when your glue is drying. No more. I'm done with it. I'm going to do things right. I'm going to have the things in my life that are important, and anything that is not, that I'm not using anymore, it's going to be gone. You know, I was thinking this morning as I was kind of contemplating what I was going to talk about in today's video, I thought it was just the idea of hammers came into my mind. I thought, I'll bet, and I might do this maybe in the next video or two. I'll gather up all the hammers I have, from finish hammers to carpenter's hammers, carpenter type of hammers. I'll bet I could round up 15, 16, maybe two dozen hammers around here. And what I find with that is having a dozen hammers is like having no hammers. Because you don't look after them, they don't have a place. I mean, who can have a place for a dozen hammers? And when you want one, you never know where it's at, because you left it in a box, or you left it over here, or you left it the last place you're working at, and it brings aggravation and frustration into your life. And so I've made the determination is that everything, whether it be the clamps or the hammers or the screwdrivers, I'm going to gather up every screwdriver that I own. I'm going to lay it on this bench. I'm going to choose the ones that I want, that speak to me, that maybe they have a history or I like, and the rest of them are going to go. I'll put together a separate toolkit for the truck. I'll put together a small toolkit to keep in the house, for little tightening screws and things. But I'm going to I'm going to get rid of that stuff. I would rather have that stuff, give it away to someone that could use it, donate it, than to have it sitting in boxes cluttering up my life. When I want to be able to come out here and, okay, I got a number 2 screwdriver, got a number 1 screwdriver, got a number 3 screwdriver of good quality, and that's where they are. And that's where they go when I'm done. That's the way it's going to be. So that's the philosophy. So everything I'm doing, and today's project is probably going to be working either on a place to store my planes or on sanding equipment. That is a perfect example. As I'm going through and unpacking, I still have boxes that I haven't unpacked from our moves. And what I'm finding is I have stacks and stacks and stacks and duplicates of tools. I'm like, how does this happen? How do I end up with 4 hammer tackers, staplers? How do I end up with, I've got 150 sheets of 60 grit sandpaper? And how it happens is being disorganized. And so when you're working and you're trying to get something done and you can't find something, what do? You go to Home Depot and you buy another one. And you buy another one, and you buy another one, and pretty soon you've got 4 or 5 hammer tackers. Because so being disorganized and not having a place for things, it costs you money, and it is a short-term. Being disorganized is a very short-term gain with long-term repercussions, and that is aggravation and great expense. So everything. So now in the future, so I'm going to have, I'll share with you, I'm going to build a little cabinet system, simple. Everything that I have to do related to sanding, my orbitals, my 6-inch orbital, my 5-inch orbital, my jitterbug, my belt sander will be there with a very simple filing card system that I can look at quickly and see, okay, I've got 60 grit, I've got 150 grit, I've got 120 grit, and there they are, or I'm running low. And so I can take my phone here and go on Amazon, or I can go to Home Depot and I can order those and replenish them, rather than having everything thrown in a bag, and then when I need it and I need to get something done, I realize I don't have any sanding discs for my 5-inch orbital sander. So that is what I'm talking about. So everything that we're doing here is falling under that line. So if you're organizing and if you're following along with this, gather everything together, those screwdrivers, those wrenches, those sockets, get what you need. You know what you need, get rid of the rest. Give it away. Give it to a young family starting up. Give it to somebody who is trying to set up a shop rather than hoarding everything. Cast your bread upon many waters and it'll come back to you, just to quote the scriptures. But that's enough of me talking. Let me show you what I built yesterday. So this is my clamp cabinet that I built out of 3/4 inch plywood. And here's the clever part. So I've got a secret hidden latch back here. It's not very secret. Hidden latch, and this opens up, and you can see my big clamps back here. We're a little confined here. I think we need to go handheld. But here you can see, so on the back side of the cabinet are my bigger clamps, and I kind of designed this for the pipe clamps, and I just cut these grooves in there. You can see that's from that was reason for the Forstner bit, but those fit in there nicely. And then it's a little dark there, but a full-length piano hinge for strength. And so here, and this is just a simple latch made out of the aluminum. And so now I can close this up here and just hit that latch. And then we have a full another face here for the smaller clamps that I use, and then a little box there that I designed to have plenty of room to fit the glue, and I don't, haven't flushed everything out yet, but what a great way to store these clamps in a really compact area. They're kind of in the corner of the shop. They're kind of a non-essential item. It's not something I get to all the time, but the clamps that I typically use would be the yellow jack clamps. I can reach up and I can grab them, very very simply with one hand, and it fits a wide variety. And it's all made out of plywood. It's just a 1/2 inch plywood on the back and 3/4 inch. It didn't cost very much to make, and a very, very useful, really useful item. Something that's always on my mind in this small area is maximizing space, and having things to be able to stack them up like this it really accomplishes that. We have quite a few clamps here, in addition to add a few more in a really tight area. And these cubbies are really nice, and it's really nice. I mean, you can store your acrobins in there. There's always little drill bits and things to store around a drill press, and there's even room underneath if I wanted to do that, or if I wanted to get even longer clamps, 6-foot clamps, they would fit in there as well. So I'm really happy with that. That turned out really good, and yeah, I guess the thing speaks for itself. So I apologize to everyone. I'm going long here. There's so much to talk about. So I wanted, in closing, I wanted to talk about or show you just how the bench turned out. Laminating the 2x6s, it turned out great. It's very sturdy. It's very solid. I glued on it yesterday. It was really great for clamping. I did go ahead and end up cutting off about 4.5 inches. It was too deep. I ended up with a 24-inch bench, and that's just perfect. Now, if this was my primary bench, I would have left it longer. And there's a lot of people commenting and saying, well, you need to be able to leave that long to clamp on. Well, I can clamp. I use my jack clamps. I can clamp easily. This is only 3 inches here. And I can even clamp here because that has a flat bottom. I even clamped here one time. It was no problem. So there's plenty of clamping space. The lamination turned out pretty good. Right here, I didn't quite get that squeezed as good as I could have, but overall, really turned out great. And it's level and flat. I could do the battery test there. There we go. If I had a marble, it'd be better, but it's perfectly flat. I planed it all down. It turned out really good. I'm very happy with it. So my plan today is to kind of do what I did for the clamp system for my sanders. I've got sanders everywhere. So what I have for sanders, and what the goal is to be able to have one cabinet system where everything is located, that I can see what I have, and I can index all of the media, the sanding discs, the belts, all that type of thing. So what I have to deal with, or the sanders that I have, is I've got a rigid belt sander, 21-inch belt sander. I've got a 6-inch, I really like this sander, 6-inch orbital, heavy-duty orbital. I sanded my whole floor in the house with this. You flooring guys would just think I'm crazy. It took 2.5 days, but I got it done. My hands were numb from the vibration afterwards. I've got a 5-inch Makita. I bought this long time ago. It's actually going out on me. I just about wore that one out. And then I've got a small Bosch little jitterbug sander. So these guys are going to have a home, and that's what we're going to do today. I don't know what it's going to look like, but that's what that's what we're going to have in the next video. So thanks for watching. Also, in closing, I think I've been closing now several times. I was very excited to wake up this morning. Several of you subscribers contacted me and said, hey, did you realize your last video is trending on the YouTube main page? And I went over there and sure enough it was. So that was very exciting. It's like almost 200,000 views in a couple day or two. So that was kind of cool. So thank you for all the support and thank you for that. And we'll see you in the next video.